Years I spoke every single Sunday of my life. I don't know how I'm managing one Sunday a month. And I'm so grateful today especially for Jennifer, who has decided not to be here. It's because she knew I was going to say something. But there are times when I do not always get the newspaper advertisement or the blurb or whatever these things are called these days out on time, and I give stuff to Jennifer I wouldn't give to any one of you. But I realized late that there were 10 pieces of paper like this all over my dining room table. And my husband occasionally, gently would say to me, how's your talk doing? And I would say, fine, I've got all these pieces of paper. They all mean something. And then I send it to Jennifer, and this is what Jennifer got out for me. See that?
Yeah.
And I was so grateful this time because I really needed something to be grateful for. It was wonderful. But I think 2 weeks ago, it may have been maybe 3 weeks ago, we had 2 little rescue dogs. I'll call them rescue dogs. Darling little creatures. And the lady that was wanting us to take, or not wanting us in particular, but found us, or we found her, got them to us. And we just loved them, and they were beautiful. Not very old and not very big, and full of energy. My husband and I are older. It was working out quite well, it really was. But then we were getting really attached to the dogs. This is one of the challenges. And we got word that she wasn't going to die after all. And she would like to have her dogs back. And we had gotten attached. 6 weeks is long enough to get attached to little dogs. So we did that. And we got over the sadness, and my husband liked this dog best, and I liked that dog best, and we were comparing all the notes and all that stuff, And then a couple of days ago, we found out that one of the dogs had died. Really. And I was the one who was most confused. See, now, this is what I used to do for a living, was take care of people who get confused when stuff goes down the toilet. And I wasn't doing a very good job of that. But I have some very good friends, and one of whom said to me, how grateful you must be that he didn't die while he was in your care. And I realized what a gift that had been. We were very sad to know that that had happened. But I was very glad to know that he was back with the woman who had loved him and cared for him most of his life up until that time. So things can go wrong and things can go right. And what I realized was, for the title of my talk, that what I needed to do was have a little more consideration for what is going on in the world. Do you know I'm not the only person that doesn't have stuff go wrong in their lives? You might think because I've got the word reverend or something in there that life is just so hunky-dory for me, and that's not always true. So what I would like to do this morning is, as I did, I looked at all the 10 pieces of paper still laying all over my dining room table, and I thought I will turn them over, and I will pick up 3 pieces. One happened to be Jennifer's stuff, and then there were 2 more. And I thought, instead of just struggling, as I will do sometimes, I will make this work. I had chosen a title several weeks back, something about a daisy chain. And that didn't work too well for me either, so I threw it out. But I thought, this is a daisy chain, this will do just fine. There is wonderful stuff out there in the world that if you will have a little consideration, you will discover will work together, will come together very nicely. So pick up a piece of paper and start. And so the first word on this one, I was so fortunate, was consideration. Create a list of ideas. This was my idea for you. You see, I'm not going to do any of this work. I'm going to create a list of ideas that support looking at old ideas in different ways. No special order, just something that has been bugging your life or bugging your time or whatever. And find a different way to think about it. Now, the reason these ideas don't work is because I'm always thinking about them. It's one thing to say, just think about it in a different way. It's another thing to do that. And when I retired from my last church, the wonderful gentleman and his wife who took over the church, I didn't realize he was a musician. She did most of the speaking, and he did most of the music and that kind of thing. And I came to find out before I was fully retired and they were fully installed, he'd written a song called I'm Always Thinking. And I fell in love with it. I thought it was a wonderful song, so I encouraged the congregation and our still pianist there to learn this song, and when he came on his first Sunday, we would sing that to him. This would be wonderful. And I can't remember the words now, but I know them. The first sentence is, I'm always thinking, and you're always thinking. But do you always think what you think about? Anybody here? We think too much about what we think about when it is not what we want to be thinking about. We've got to change the way we do what we always do. Because if, you know the saying, if you keep doing what you're always doing and you're always getting the same result, you're nuts. So the idea I have for you is to look at the things in your life that keep happening. Don't have to be the same things, but with an awful regularity. Stuff, I'm a lady, stuff happens. Okay? So, what do I want to talk about? Oh. This isn't exactly what I ask people every Sunday, but what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Are you here because you love the people that come every Sunday? I love that part. Are you here because you've got nothing else to do? The people that are playing golf this morning, I mean, well, you're glad you're here. And what can you do about the stuff that you do when you're not here, when it's not fulfilling for you? See, a lot of times, I know what, I won't tell stories on my husband, never mind that one. What I decided I needed to do about all of this, and it was get back to basics. Sometimes getting back to basics is all we need to do. So I thought, okay, back to basics. What did I first learn? When I was in ministerial school, and that's even longer ago, what did I learn? And mostly, much of it was scientific, because I found, much to my chagrin, that Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, agreed with the scientists a whole lot more than I did, until I got to really giving it some consideration. I realized I wasn't as patient as I thought I was. You know, if I put it aside, I didn't just put it aside, I put it aside. You know, I've got aside places, and when I find stuff that I'm really often very surprised. What I found, the part that just got to me, was finding out that most scientists and many ministers and other people agree with one basic idea, and that is that everything moves in circles. Everything keeps on going round and round. Some of the things with a regularity we wish they wouldn't, but they keep going around. And what that basically is, without getting into a lot of religious teaching, is that whatever your belief about God is, it doesn't really matter. It's that you believe that there is a greater power. Doesn't matter if you think it's a man in a cloud or what you think it is. Everyone comes back to the same idea. It circulates. The planets are circulating. Everything is circulating. Everything we think about circulates around us. And if you're thinking about the same kinds of things, doesn't have to be the same thing, the same kinds of things, and the same kinds of things keep happening. Keep losing your job, keep falling out with your lover, find another lover and do it all over again. These things keep on happening. Getting the same kinds of sicknesses, getting well, getting sick again, and then getting sick again, and then getting well again, and on it goes. So we have to start and say, the thing I had to start and say is, I want to stop. The great big stop. That is not working. I have to stop. How can I stop? What can I stop circulating? And then I read something, and I'm ashamed to say to you that his name is on another piece of paper. But the important thing that he said was, as everything is circulating, the circle gets bigger. There is an energy within the circles that we make out of our lives that keeps on, the energy keeps making it bigger. So that if your energy is given to the young lady who was here before, whose energy is given to changing the way things that are happening are not doing it right. The government doesn't do a whole lot right. Have you noticed that? And we keep electing them. Did you notice that? It's still there. They've just got different ways of saying it. But the thing is, the circulation. The planets keep circulating. Worlds keep circling. Planets keep circulating. And then, what's the great big one? Universes keep circulating. The thing that is happening that we can take advantage of here is the idea that as we circulate, the circles, let's call them, get bigger. And what happens is that as they get bigger, they create more space within themselves. The more you do of it, the more there is of it to do, either to heal or to receive and accept the good. It's all circulating, it's all expanding. We had a little, when all of our grandkids were little, we had a little plastic tub out on the lawn. And it was, we filled it with water every time they came, and there was a big hoo-ha about whether we had the water warm enough or not. And while we were messing about with that, the children were stripping and they were in it. And our gate wasn't very secure at that time. So we were chasing them down the street, stark naked, happy as all get out. You talk about living in a gated community. Anyway, the thing is, the children learned how to get in this little round pot and start going round and round and round. And pretty soon we found we had to be there, right there, because if they went round and round fast enough, They flew out the side of the tub. And I got to thinking about that the other day with this idea of changing the way I think about things. That was at one point in time a disadvantage. And when the children were there and we did it right, it was a great advantage because we could line up and stand in line for being shoved round and round, and we could take it in line, whether it was my turn or your turn to do the shoving. And it was a wonderful expression of energy and how we don't always understand it. What I need to do, I'm going to speak for myself, what I need to do is take one thing in my life, and this is very personal, I don't often do this, but I'm going to share something personal with you. It's not a bad thing, but I want you to understand how long things can take to change, if you don't know that, and what can happen when they do change. As a young person, I didn't have a regular family, and I had two sets of grandparents, one who thought I was lovely, and another one who didn't think I was lovely at all, and didn't need to be with them. And one day, I used to call him the ugly grandpa. One day, the ugly grandpa was watching me while I was eating, and we were all eating. And he could see that my cup was rather full, and that I would occasionally get it tilted a little bit too much. And he couldn't stand looking at it for very much longer until finally he exploded and shouted at the top of his voice that something in the effect I was going to spill my tea. And the whole family, nobody spoke. So finally I said, you'll understand I wasn't very old, Grandpa, why do you hate me so much? There was all kinds of ohs, my God, Harry, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And he was my uncle at that time, he was only 16 or 17, he was my uncle. And he said, Marcia, do you want to go out in the garden, play on the rocks for a little while? Yes. Okay, can I take her? Yes. So he came out with me, and he put his arm around me to explain to me that this is not the way life is done, and blah, 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 blah. And as an aside to that, I will say that him doing that for me stuck in my mind for many years, because young as I was, I realized that he must know that his daddy is an ugly man. See, he, 17, 18, he remembered that forever. And I felt so sad for that. But that was the event. And that event did not make as much of an impress on me as you might think. I got on with life. And it was not until quite recently, and if you don't know this, I'm older. And in groups like this, we will often do that kind of research. And why did this happen? How did you handle it? Blah, 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 blah. And I suddenly realized it hadn't bothered me at all. Why was that? See, now that bothered me. I don't like not knowing stuff. I like knowing. So I kept on and I kept, why? And it occurred to me one day that he'd never answered my question. Grandpa, why do you hate me so much? His answer was, because you should never have been born. Okay, you all guess why. And then I realized he didn't answer me because he couldn't answer me. How could he answer? What could he say? And it came to me, he didn't know. He didn't mean to be what he was. He just didn't know the reason why my birth so fried his world. He could not answer me. And then, believe it or not, I felt sorry for him. This poor man, and I'm only, what am I, 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. This man has got that in his heart and in his mind, and he doesn't know what to do about it or why he feels that way. What could he do? I can't be unborn. You know, the deed is done. And so, in thinking about that, I want you to understand that my life, for the most part, up until that time, had been struggle. Struggle, struggle, struggle. Even though I didn't know what my problem was, I had a problem. I was struggling against a great unknown. I shouldn't be here. Why am I in trouble again? Because you shouldn't have been born. Oh, good. And I kept that throughout my entire life without realizing what it was or that it was having an effect on me. And then when I got to what I felt was a good enough truth for me to be able to say, okay, got that one, done it, I began to notice the way life was changing. I have not been a minister my whole life. There was all that time before the 35 years that I lived and had a family and did everything else and struggled because I didn't know there was nothing to struggle against. It's like that old story of Grandma who always cut the ends off the roast. See how you're laughing? You all know that one. You all know that one. And kept on cutting the ends off the roast until somebody told her it was just because the pan was too small. There was no reality to it. And this is the kind of thing I'm suggesting that we have a little more consideration about. What kinds of things? Was it our fault or somebody else's? Was it something you read, something you were taught in school that caused you to embody this idea that I had, that I shouldn't be here. I wasn't supposed to be born. I shouldn't be here. That's why everything in my life goes wrong. Now you see, I didn't know that I even had a problem. I was letting the problem run me, and I didn't even know what it was. Until finally one day I woke up. Now, you have to have something new to do. So, how come I walked into this religious science church? Not this one, the one I went into eventually. They presented me with new ideas, new ways of looking at things, and of course there's way too much to talk about here. But I realized that knowing that took away my fear. I've got nothing to be afraid of. I went all the way through World War II, fear, wasn't afraid of the bombs, wasn't afraid of everything, I mean, the only little bit of fear I had was we had a time where they would send what we used to call the buzz bombs over, and the buzz bombs had no engines. They'd cut out at a certain time, and if you counted up to 13, you could be sure you were still alive. That was the only time. And my grandmother, bless her heart, was scared spitless, and my job in life was to keep her happy and comfortable and try to, explain the world to her. So the fact that I had learned to live comfortably with my discomforting understanding had saved me an awful lot of pain. Oh, it's just another one of those things. It'll go away. I handled that for years, living this semi-ordinary life until I found the key, which to me was the fact that I was basing everything I did upon the belief of a man, who's now dead, by the way, that wasn't true to start with. Can you imagine realizing all those wasted, well, they're not really wasted, but all those years, I had to turn it around and make a new decision about it. And the new decision, of course, had to be where I was going to go to church and do all those different things. I did all of those things. I'm going to come up to the future now, so you've got, 50, 60, 70, whatever years. We had a graduation. We've got all kinds of kids in our family. And we had a graduation, and a fine young man just coming out of college and going into the Marines. I wasn't that thrilled, but still in all, he looked the part and just acted the part. And we were all out having dinner together in this lovely restaurant and all of this to celebrate his going away and all the rest of that. Oh dear. And he stopped. He said, just a minute. Dear Grandma, what wonderful thing for my life have you got to give me as I go away? And he caught me totally off guard. I had no idea. And I thought, oh God, he needs me to tell him how to save the world or something. 2 sentences came out of my life, out of my mouth. Thank you, God. And I said to him the only 2 things that came into my brain. The first one was, always try to be kind. Always try to be kind. If there's 2 ways of doing a thing,